Ay.
Do you have needs?
Do I have needs?
Yes, do you have needs?
In need for football.
Well, you're getting that and a lot more, my friend. But welcome to episode 148 of The Other Side of the Ball. I'm Doug, and momentarily we might be joined by one Chorus Hammond, but in the meantime, I am joined by Mr. Vera. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Just got through my day with enough time to grab a bite to eat and then come up here and jump on this.
Oh, yes, for all your A7FL needs. And before we continue, once again, to one Derek Duncan, hope you had a very good, fantastic birthday, sir.
Old man.
Here you go all of a sudden.
Well, because I know he's going to give me crap next month when it's my birthday.
Yes, it is your birth month next year. Right smack,
Next month.
Right, next month, right smack dab in the heart of NFL season. And
yes, sir.
And speaking of the Hammond of Corey from the New Jersey of Man, it is the Corey Hammond of New Jersey of Man.
I don't know what somebody did to Dub's brain. He's talking like he's holding summits with Zelensky. But thanks for having me on, guys. Sorry, wait.
If I was having press conference, we'd be talking about peace and prosperity, not dumb stuff. But that's a whole other story for a whole other.
That is another story for another day. Gentlemen, how's the weather out there? We always start with a weather report. I will be honest. Little late to the pod. Little waterlogged at football practice tonight.
Was it raining?
Oh, yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, in Jersey it was what we call a defensive day. It was definitely not a ball handling type of day. Pause. Not a, not an aerial assault type of day. A day to go over form tackling for the kids in puddles.
Oh yes, so a lot of manly sweat. Very good, very good, very good.
Anyway.
I would have found the wettest spot and had them do monkey rolls.
Oh, I bet you would.
I think nowadays we can't call things by those types of names and the types. If it was like badminton, I don't think there's a negative connotation, but we have to be politically correct. I guess not anymore, right?
So anyway. What am I supposed to call it? People rolls?
I think it's called for the how obese America is. It's jelly rolls. But I digress.
Okay, so what's the bull in the ring? We don't want to offend any bulls, so.
Or Dave Blunts.
Or what?
Dave Blunts.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the ring has to be known as an all-encompassing round shape. Maybe, I don't know.
Okay. Well.
I'm trying to make a joke that isn't funny, and it's making it worse. So let's move on.
I mean, whatever. It is what it is. I'm old school. I'll call it as I see it.
No, listen. Like I said,
if I offend you, sorry.
Form tackling in the mud, basically the same thing as monkey rolls. So.
Okay. Well. So anyway, how was everybody's day?
Well, went to go get some new shoes for the pony, aka tires, and well, yeah.
Yeah, they're never cheap.
No, not at all. and that's even with getting $80 instant savings.
Nice.
That sucks.
Well, when you work out the $80 instant savings, it's only $20 a tire if you're doing all four. So it really doesn't stretch that far.
No,
Not at all.
Not when those things are
unfortunately
like
not.
$270. Depends on what kind of car you got. I got a van. I need big ones.
Biggins.
I drive a sports car. There you go.
So you got Hankook tires.
No, I got a Nixon.
Nixon. All right. I don't know enough about tires. I just know that one commercial I saw.
You just
No,
know
but
Hankook.
well, when I first got the pony, they did have hand-cooked tires, but those are pretty expensive.
Yeah, I got Pirellis on mine.
Oh yes,
Well, I got them cheap. Anyway, I think we should stop talking about that. Move on to the A7 and what we've got on tap for tonight. And Corey, I like the homework, man. It's looks good.
Yeah, just throw it together right before class, kind of thing. We got to do what we got to do. But hey, man, I know we started the podcast off talking about what's offensive and what's not, but just like it's out here in New Jersey, it's a defensive day today, boys. Gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the most ferocious, the most diabolically defensive linemen we have in the year of 2025 in the A7FL. And normally we have a little bit of an open forum before we really get down to putting numbers in front of guys. So I know we kind of threw the list together relatively quickly. So based on what our list is from what I said with the question mark at the end, that would be the guys we're including. Who are some of the guys that are honorable mentions that may or may not be in that list of 7 that we were talking about?
That's a good question. I think that so I'm taking a look at this, and when we did the original, excuse me, with the stats,
right?
Sorry, I'm trying to find it right now because I know it's in my in the chat. I'm just
yep
trying to find it real quick so that way I can speak to it, not just speak about what we're talking about. So I'm just trying to find it. So bear with me for a moment.
Yeah. Just kind of give you a little cover while you look for those stats. I will say that as great as we do as a league trying to compile these stats, I do know that in general there is probably a little bit of the Vegas stats that are a little lacking in totality. And that also goes for the Baltimore division, which their only really recorded stats are in games that they play in New Jersey. So it does skew some of the numbers. So I think the numbers are obviously, like we were talking about, yards, passing, and interceptions and things like that. The sack totals are important, but I do think that there is an argument to be made above just the pure statistics. Because guys in the Vegas division, guys in the Baltimore division, you look at their sack totals, it might not be representative of their actual outputs, even if it isn't just stats, but overall effectiveness. Because some of these guys don't necessarily finish the play, but they definitely start it with their penetration.
Agreed. And I think that when you look at the overall for a lot of the guys that we're talking about, and I found the stat list, and I'm going back down to our list.
That's what me being able to talk forever helps is to fill time. So just filled the time there, gave you perfect cover. There you go.
It gave me great cover. So one of the names that I'll pull out that I think definitely needs mentioning is Brooks. Is for sure Ole Bell.
I would definitely agree with that. Yep.
That's a good one. That's a good one for sure.
Yeah, and Sessions would be another one. I think those guys are definitely worth mentioning for sure. I think that when we look at not just the stats, but what players are able to do for their team, because we're just talking about honorable mentions right now. So,
Right.
I mean, those would be mine. I don't know who you guys would have as your honorable mentions, but those are the guys that I knew Bell was one that kind of came to mind right away when we were talking about it. And Corey, if you remember, we talked about Sessions when we were talking about Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
So that's why those two names came to mind right away. But I'm not sure what your guys' feelings are.
Well, and honestly, I think the list that we have compiled, let's make that a working list. If as we have this this organic conversation about these defensive linemen, we decide that who's vacuuming, as we decide where these guys line up. I think it's Dub probably. There's definitely an aircraft carrier behind us. Deacon.
No, this is probably my fan.
Yeah, it's basically the mics. A lot of the mics on the headset, and Corey, even yours from time to time, pick up background noise really well.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, we could work through it. But anyway, I think Olay Bell for me is one of the guys that are like a go-to on the A7FL webpage from I think 2019. I even wrote an article about Olay Bell and how he hadn't won a championship even back then, and he's still been sticking it out. So I don't know if we'll ever see him again. Shout outs to Olay, but he's definitely a defensive lineman for sure. To kind of mention as far as the output he had this season. But that also goes to kind of talk, to the greater point that I was going to make tonight at some point, and now's as good a time as any. The collective defensive lines for the two championship combatants this year and last year, consequently, the depth at that position of D lineman, whether it's tackle or end, I think is one of the biggest reasons why those teams were extremely successful this year. And when you look at the roster of BIC, and we talk about the lineup that the Insomniacs rotated with at that defensive front, I mean, I'm just going to list a couple of names for BIC. We had Big Mo Ramadan, rotational player, right?
Yep.
We saw guys go in for BIC. They're almost kind of like legacy players from other teams and back in the day. And then you had the guys that that might make this list that were more consistent impact guys. They were benefiting just as much from that long list of options BIC had. Because when you can throw fresh legs in there to rush the quarterback, play in, play out, especially when your offense can get a lead, you're going to do some damage up front. And that's one of the reasons why when it came down to it in 2025, Insomniacs and BIC had a lot of the names on this list, and also a lot of guys we could consider that might not even have made it.
And rightfully so.
Well, I mean, when I talk about defensive linemen, the biggest thing that I like to point out is it's amazing how much a good defensive line can actually cover up for a inadequate secondary.
Yes.
And the thing about it is when you talk about BIC and you talk about the Insomniacs, both of them had what I would consider well above average secondaries, but they also had way above average defensive line play pretty much all season. So when you start to break these things down, in my eyes, you're talking about two of the top echelon teams that if I was starting a team tomorrow and I didn't know a ton of the A7FL, one of the things I would look at is those two teams and try to kind of copy what they're doing on their defensive lines, because that, like I said, that could cover up for a lot of deficiencies in the secondary.
Well, and the way that you build your team, if you're able to rush the passer and you can get a lead, then you're forcing the opponent into the trap of our defensive line can just rush. And I think on our list it's interesting because a lot of the guys that made that sack list of just total sacks, I don't think that that's the only way that we measure impact from defensive linemen.
No.
So when we do get into the list, I think that will be something to look at. Dub, do you have any honorable mentions? I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look back at this list of some of the guys that we mentioned to make sure I didn't miss anybody. But was there anybody that you thought at least deserved a mention?
Well, as I said earlier, even though he's really more a versatile athlete, but he does play a lot on the defensive line. But I throw in there Matt Murphy from Sick because sometimes I think he's the forgotten man on that front line because, like I say, he does a lot of good things on both sides of the ball, but sometimes I think his play on the front line, on the defensive side of the ball, sometimes gets overlooked a lot because he's one of those guys that can relentlessly get to the quarterback and get pressure and, force bad throws from the opposing team's quarterback. So he's definitely one that I have on my mind that I think does not get enough credit for his play on the defensive end, on the defensive side of the ball. That would be my honorable mention.
Yeah, I think he was definitely the name that I was literally looking at as I was waiting for you to say because I think it'd have been facetious if I was like, well, what about Matt Murphy? I'm not even fully 100% aware of the young man's game, but shout outs to him because I do know who you're talking about, and he definitely has some appearances, for Sick in the highlights. Another guy that doesn't make this list that I do want to just give a shout out. IG, the tight end and defensive end for the Silk City Animals, alongside another guy I think that will make this list, a rookie that made most of his big plays, memorable plays, on the offensive side of the ball as David Tender's check down tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I saw just as many important plays on the defensive side of the ball, adding a legitimate, other weapon so that teams had to be honest and just play. They couldn't just run away from the other guy because if they ran into IG, IG Live was, doing it for the gram. So I think he's definitely a guy that I want to give a shout out to. I think he'll probably make another one of our lists. But as far as honorable mentions, there's a couple of reasons the Animals went from one of the worst defenses to one of the better ones, and I'm going to give credit to the rookie IG Live from Silk City. All right, enough about the guys that didn't make the list. Do you guys want to do the thing?
Oh, yes, it's time to give them their needs.
Do the thing. A7FL top
No,
7.
No, Chris, can't hear you. What happened to your mic? Like, what the heck, Chris?
Yep, he's
Chris, are you there? Still can't hear you. Corey, can you hear Chris?
I cannot hear Chris.
Okay. So no, we cannot hear the Chris of Man, which is odd. Oh, well, real quickly before we get into the countdown. So, I guess the world's not so kept secret it is out, as it was mentioned on a live today, but Manny Diaz once again taking his talents back to the Trenton BIC for 2026. As again, we cannot hear Chris what he's saying. Hello, Mr. Will Franklin. As he says, the hell we doing tonight? What's the thing? Mr. Franklin, we are counting down the top seven defensive linemen of 2025 in the A7FL, as Chris will hopefully be back to fix his microphone issues, which just came out of nowhere. But glad you're with us here on episode number 148 of The Other Side of the Ball. Yeah. Go ahead and say something, Chris. Still can't hear you.
Check to see if the mic's plugged in. It's probably something silly, It's always with this kind of stuff. It's always something silly.
It's always something silly, but yes, we are counting down the top 7 defensive linemen of 2025. So, for those watching, will the player that you like or root for or play with Will he make the list? We are about to find out. But yeah, Manny Diaz returning to the Trenton BIC, taking his talents there in 2026. Corey, you kind of saw it unfold there in Jackson, as he was wearing the Trenton BIC colors. So I mean, like I said, it's not the world's biggest not so secret, but just your thoughts on that real quick as Mr. Diaz returning to the Trenton BIC.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, you're
Yes,
good
we can
now.
hear you.
Okay, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it is what it is. You're back.
Yeah.
So
And it kind of sucks because I was going to say there's somebody that I wanted to add to the defensive lineman when we were talking about him. That would be an up-and-comer that I would definitely say we need to watch out for, because I thought his play was just outside of being on this list, which is another one of the not Insomniac, sorry, the shoot. Why can't I think of the name? Anyway, Zach Cicerone.
Oh, Zach
Cic-
Cerrone, yes.
Cerrone, thank you.
Yes.
Definitely a one to up and comer that I think we need to watch, because he was the one that almost took the 3-on-1 back for the touchdown. He's also had numerous sacks. Just a really good defensive player. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead. It was my fault because my microphone went dead.
no, you're good. You got it in.
But that
it
is-
was good.
but-
It was good.
But that is a good pick. Very good pick.
Yeah,
Yes.
and to get back to Manny, I think it's interesting because I think earlier in the offseason there was a report. I don't know if it was directly from a biased renegade that might have got the wrong information, but I thought we heard that Manny Diaz was going to probably consider the Renegades as his first option. But it is really no surprise at the end of the day after, Dub, you're saying he's returning to the sideline. Yeah, it's because he was already on an opposing team's sideline even during the actual season before it was officially over. Now, it was officially over for the Animals, but I think the drama comes when you consider that Manny did not show up for the Final Four game of the Animals, in which he was set to play and start at wide receiver 1 for David Tender and Silk City. But he did make the championship game, even though his team did not. So that was an interesting development, and he will be, as of today at least, suiting up for the Brothers in Christ out of Trenton. And I think it's interesting because as great as his statistical season was this year, I don't know if you can improve by joining a wide receiving core with Kason Campbell and Ashante Worthy on it.
Correct.
Now, improving does not necessarily mean like you can improve your season and not necessarily have the same stats, I guess, by walking out with hardware. But interesting to see that move go. But that's what he announced, so that's what we'll go with.
All right.
Who knew?
Yeah, like I said, the world's most not so secret.
And the thing about it is, as we go through this and we start to hear all these different things that people are talking about as far as movement, I still am on the realm of I will believe it when I see it. We've heard, like Corey said, we've heard that he was supposed to be a renegade, so now he's with BIC. Well, we'll find out next year. I mean, what else can you say?
That we will.
So you want to
I
get?
don't know what else to say.
Well, I know what else to say.
What's that?
Let's get into the top 777 defensive linemen of 2025.
All right.
There you go.
And now
Thanks, Silver guy.
here's Will Franklin. Dumbest move in A7 Diaz going to BIC. There's 2-3 other players that are better than him at wide receiver. Will Franklin coming in, dropping some heat, if you will.
Is it heat though? I mean, that's just a common sense take. So
It's heat
right?
for him.
I mean, listen. Shout outs to Will Franklin, the most opinionated ref in all of above not pro sports, right?
Hey,
But
he's
yeah,
allowed.
I mean,
He's
listen,
allowed his opinions.
Well, listen. You look at the output he's going to be able to put out. I doubt he puts up the same numbers.
You said zealot?
Well, I mean, when you have
Oh.
that many people, I mean, I don't want to go back to it since we're going to talk about defensive linemen, but when you put up the time of the numbers that Diaz had, and then you go back and you're playing with guys, that are, I would agree, one step ahead. You're going to take a back seat to them. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's only one ball, right? You got to share it.
Correct. You do have
Well,
to share the ball.
You know what, Will? There's something to be said about that because we say the same thing when we're talking about lighting agencies, which I'm part of. If you can't beat your competitor, you try to get them and then you shelf them. So, I mean, no difference here, it sounds like. So we'll see what happens. I mean, you take him off the shelf, I guess, every so often, dust him off, and hopefully he can still do what he does.
Well, I think the bigger development in that story of Manny Diaz going to BIC is not what can Diaz do for BIC, because, similarly to Matt Riddick and Mark Bagway, I mean, there's going to be opportunities for Manny to make plays, just not as consistently with as deep of a roster that BIC is set to have potentially. But I think the bigger move is, who do the Animals fill that void of Manny Diaz with? Because even though KP, number 4, the wide receiver, stepped up big time, I already mentioned, because we were talking about IG, Gonzalez, the tight end. They do have Divine Epps. There are other guys that I think can step up for the Animals as far as playmakers go. The real question is how do you replace the type of production that Manny Diaz was able to have, and say what they want in public on the field in a game when the, like, in between the lines, when the game was live. David Tender and Manny Diaz can say what they want, but Manny Diaz was David Tender's go-to wide receiver, and that type of relationship isn't just an overnight thing that organically will happen. If you have a go-to guy, it's really difficult to replace a guy like that on your roster. So, we'll see how it progresses for both teams. And, maybe the Animals are looking for a way to replace some of that production by going after some of the other receivers on some of the other top teams, because they showed last year that they're definitely a contender.
Well, my question mark isn't the fact of replacing Manny. And I get what you're saying. There's going to be, the chemistry that you create with a wide receiver and a quarterback is not something that's easily replaced.
Oh, no.
But I think that we've also got to look at this and understand the fact that these guys are playing, they won't be playing again until March of next year. They've got a lot of time, and I'm guessing. I don't know. But I would think that some of these guys still play flag or still play in other leagues where they can possibly bring over another player from somewhere else, where Tender could actually start putting things together with another wide receiver for next A7FL season. So I'm not just going to say that, okay, Manny's gone, now what? I think that there's going to be some other stuff that comes in behind it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and it's almost like the Brady Belichick thing, right? Was Manny Diaz great because of David Tender, or was David Tender great because he had a Manny Diaz when everything broke down?
Well, but here's what Will just said too. So it is something to think about.
Oh, yes.
And that's
So-
that confirms basically the conjecture, Chris, that you're having, right? And
Yep.
I think that goes to the conversation myself and Big Rob once had about the most important thing if you want to be a successful organization in the A7FL, and that's recruiting, right? If you're just getting retreads from other teams,
It's never going to work.
well, it can, right? There's ways to find places for guys, but if you're looking for a talent like Manny Diaz, other teams are probably not going to willingly give that up. So finding a guy to replace him from outside the league is probably the best way to go.
Well, I would agree with you if the A7 was a contract league, meaning that players sign contracts with their teams to play, whether it be 5, 6, 7 years, whatever you want to call it. I would agree with you. But the fact that you can go have a conversation with the guy and bring other guys in and say, okay, look, this is what we're putting together as a team, and this is how we're going to put this team together with you, and all these guys are players. You can, get guys to basically leave one team for another. Doesn't always work, but you can do it.
I mean, we got a Bender situation over on the Hunters, so anything can happen, right?
You're right on that.
Anyway, so interesting move. We'll see how it plays out as the season gets closer, and maybe there's a fall, maybe there's a winter. There's definitely going to be a spring, and we'll see how that shakes out. But I think the hors d'oeuvres are out of the way, gentlemen. Let's get into the main course for the evening, and that would be top 7 D linemen.
Wow, that's not what I said, but okay.
In as many words is what I think Will is saying. As many words.
Yeah, that is
not literally, right? Not
yeah,
literally.
hopefully not literally.
Metaphorically out the draws, and I love the spelling of draws there.
Right.
It really shows the accent of our friend Will Franklin. At least he doesn't have to say also, but the other word that's TOO for it. But he doesn't have a Maryland accent anyway. So guys, let's start with number 7, and this is a guy.
Well, did you do we place him in order yet, or we?
I put him in order, but with that last name, it's funny. That can go either way, and if you see the name, you'll understand what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know.
Or we could just say that. Listen, when you have that last name, you just automatically are included in the list, because part of the deal when you get this guy or these guys.
Corey, the way we say this is when we get to that name, we just say it, and every last one of them will understand. We'll just leave it at that.
And genetically, we could rotate all of the different guys that fit this description by just the last name.
Oh, yeah.
And they can be the amalgamation and all be counted as one spot on this top 7. So, Dub, do you want to start us off with our number 7 defensive lineman of the 2025 season?
And technically, you if you read them, it's got to be bottom up.
I know that. Well, since
just telling us all, but
since there is a question mark, we'll just say both names, and I guess we can say it's the first family of A7 Nevada. But coming in at number 7 from the Silver State Stealth, it's always a family affair when you talk about these brothers. Of course, we're talking about the Ramseys. We're talking about Robert and Keith Ramsey from the Silver State Stealth.
Yes.
And obviously, Will Franklin's been cheating.
No, I think I think Will is just saying that that's who he thinks should be number 1.
Well, makes a valid point.
Maybe he has a good point. Maybe he's off by a couple of spots. Yep. But
we'll see.
Chris, tell us about each of these guys, because I think they both deserve to be categorized as individuals. But they do always seem to play on the same team, so it's like you can really switch them in and out, and it's like you're not missing a beat because of how athletic these guys can be.
The thing about it is it's an interesting concept, because when you talk about Robert compared to his brother, you're not talking about a vast difference. It's just Robert's the bigger out of the brothers, which is funny because when you see him play on the field, he plays so much bigger than what he truly is. He's actually smaller than I am.
And Keith's the taller one as far as height goes.
Yes. So, when you think about what these guys are able to do and how they're able to play, there is no fear. They don't know fear. They don't know what that means. I mean, if you don't believe me, just ask Sal when he ran over Robert and still was tackled by him. So, I mean,
Dub looks like he just ate the bomb
because he knows what I'm talking about.
He knows what I'm.
He knows exactly the play I'm talking about. There's a certain aspect when you're playing tackle football where smaller guys against larger guys,
Yeah.
they're going to drop a shoulder because they are padded. When you watch the Ramseys play, they play this game as if they were playing in pads. That's what I'm
Yes.
saying.
I
And the
agree
fact
with
that they have
100%.
no fear when it comes
None.
to larger players, they don't care.
All right,
And
I'm just
they're
saying,
going to drop the hammer no matter what.
You're laughing at the Josiah Sal visual in your head, right?
Exactly.
Because I could just see I could just see it as Chris is explaining it. Because again, like I said, Keith Ramsey, I mean, he doesn't have the mass like his brother Robert, but he is not afraid to stand in there, dig in the trenches, and go mano a mano with a big oos that went to the University of Vanderbilt and played in the SEC. So when
And
Chris
had
is,
to be giving up, 200 pounds?
at least.
Not at least. There's no way he doesn't weigh. He doesn't weigh like 90 pounds.
No,
He's
he
not
does
giving
not.
up. No, what I'm saying is that Josiah Sal probably weighs 314. Ramsey probably weighs like 170. So it wasn't more than 200, but it was a lot. But I think what's missing from like the context of that play is, yes, Josiah Sal lowered his shoulder, but how did the play end? It ended in a tackle at the spot of contact. So as much of a round of applause that Josiah Sal got, really the play the if you just listed the result of the play on paper and you didn't see the highlight, it's Ramsey who won that exchange. Now, I mean, in blunt force trauma, maybe not, but he tackled him. That's the purpose of being out there.
But
But
the bigger.
Sal helped him
No,
up.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Sal helped him up and gave him some dap and
Yes.
basically earned his respect if he did not have it already.
I mean,
Well, I mean, even if Josiah Sal didn't respect him, Josiah Sal was down after the contact of the play. So, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with anything being said. I'm just saying that it's funny that when you see that play, the first thing we think about is the truck stick laid out by Josiah Sal on that play. But really, if you think about it, the more amazing aspect of the play, the highlight, if you will, is the fact that Ramsey got the guy down after that blunt force trauma.
if you watched the play, the highlight of the play was the contact.
Because it was loud.
Period. It was you could hear it.
Well,
You
it
could
was
hear
mutual.
Oh yeah, you could hear it, you could feel it. I mean, the contact was next level.
It's like if Hulk and Superman combined punches and hit each other, the whole city would just be in rubble, if you will.
Yeah, it was one of those that you I'm sure you've seen the YouTubes of Joe Rogan on the sideline or on the sitting calling matches, and when somebody gets knocked out, they've had the classic
The meme,
that
yeah,
was what it was on the sideline watching that play, because we saw it was one of those situations where you saw the catch, you saw the hit coming, you didn't know what was going to happen. You had a good idea because Sal outweighs Ramsey by a lot, so you had a good idea. But then when he hit the ground and still made the tackle, it was a different level. That's all I'm saying. It was a different level. To watch it on video is one thing. To hear the hit, to hear all of that is one thing. To see it live, sitting sideline, hear the hit, watch what happened, and see the whole play and see it develop was surreal. That's all I'm saying. And to see a little guy, I got it. Let's face it, Ramsey isn't that small, but compared to Josiah, it's a huge difference. So it was a very interesting play to watch.
And for the second season in a row, we have Ramsey in as a one of our top 7. We'll see where he lines up with the top 50.
Well, I think we can put the Ramsey brothers as 7A and 7B, to be honest.
Well, and I think last year we specifically singled out Keith, but I think having them both in is great. So. And I will say this, we're listing them both as defensive linemen, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And we're talking about the size of D linemen. I think one of the things team builders learn, and I think I've said this in a previous podcast about defensive line position, especially pass rushers in the A7FL. It doesn't have to be your traditional 270-pound defensive end. You can put a guy out there that has a low center of gravity. We'll say a curious will for physical contact. It's curious, we'll say. There's nothing wrong with anybody hitting people that hard on a Sunday for fun, but it certainly is a curious way that his neuro synapses are firing. But
Well, the bigger thing is, Corey, you can't, and I think that you've also said this, and if not, I know I have. The one thing you can't measure when it comes to guys are their heart. And
oh yeah, and
and
especially
the
if you're
love of
gonna
the
hit a
game.
guy like Josiah Sal, yeah, you could just see that. It's
And
written
so
on his sleeve.
the heart and their want to you are two things you just can't measure when you're talking about playing in this game, and especially playing, I guess you could say, undersized as a lineman,
Yep.
and still willing to make the hits that you make and do some of the things that you're willing to do is just one of those situations to me where there is no measuring stick to be able to measure those things.
And
Effort.
if you have that in you, the skill set that a smaller guy has is the quickness, is the suddenness, and the ability to get off the snap and get around an offensive lineman without even being touched. And if you have the heart and the will to get into the trenches
And
and
the
do the
dog,
dirty work, yeah, and the dog,
got to have some dog in you.
if you're willing to do that and you have the skill set and you're a smaller guy, you can be even more successful than the traditional guys, because that speed and that penetration can kill an offensive game plan.
Effort.
Very true.
You either have it or you
Or you
don't.
don't. Yep. I mean, there's
Number-
been guys that I've seen play this game that if you had a team of those guys, you would go undefeated.
Mm.
So yeah,
Well,
there
it's
is
good
that.
it's good to have the speed too. I think speed is important, but without if you give me a choice of speed or will, I'll probably take Will, and I'll take Will Franklin too. By the way, anyway, number 7, the Ramsey brothers, the stealth, which
Oh,
brings us,
yes.
guys, moving on up. Number
Yep.
6
To the east side.
Well, we're staying west. We're staying west. No east side yet.
No, I was doing the Jeffersons theme song.
I know.
You know, I'm actually. I take it this is mine.
Why not?
Okay. Well, I will be very honest, and I will say that I am very happy that he is on this list, knowing that he missed last season due to it wasn't even being injured.
Yeah, it was.
He had
a
some
medical
health
situation.
issues, and it was not good. So to see him out here on this list is just puts a big smile on my face. And I will say it the way I like to say it. At number 6, we will welcome the mighty Quinn.
Yes.
And I am very, very happy that he is on this list. He is a hell of a player and a hell of a person. Great dude. And I mean, I like watching him play. He brings it each and every down.
Didn't he lead the league in sacks this year?
No.
But he was in the top 5 in sacks, I should say.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, 5.5.
He was one of the leaders in the division.
Yes.
Okay.
He was a leader in our division for sacks at 5.5. My question mark is I actually would challenge the fact that he only had 5.5. I think there's a couple sacks that are missing.
Well, he certainly had a lot. He certainly was in on a lot of pressures, and definitely
Yes.
you can tell the difference of how. I mean, and keep this in mind, folks. I mean, Sick went undefeated in the regular season last year, but you can tell the element of not having the mighty Quinn on defense in 2024 was hugely missed, and
Big
you
time.
saw the impact of his return back in 2025. And I mean, you just think about this: if a former member of that defense, if the great Ahmad Awada was on that defense,
Whew.
um, how would how would that
Man.
add to six defense in 2025? Which again, I mean, when they were both together, they complement each other very well. But again, the Mighty Quinn certainly picked back up for where he left off in 2023, and I mean, it was just great seeing him back on the field, doing what he loves to do. And of course, him being the Steeler fan that he is, trying to, get his TJ Watt on, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, the way he plays, I think I would probably look at him more as a Harrison guy. Just saying.
That's a good comparison.
My
Well,
own
I
opinion.
remember watching him, and I used to remark because there was a bunch of guys. It was Quinn, Robert Burns, a bunch of guys wearing number 20 digit, 20s on their jersey. They would
Yeah.
wear the shiesty masks, and for at the time the eventual fall champ pit bosses. He was one of the rotational guys at defensive end that was helping Coach Bartley win that championship in that fall, and that was really where my exposure to him, and it's great to see him back to that early in his career form, and he was missed, and it's glad to have him back because now when we go back and forth arguing on Facebook, we could talk about him being an active player again, which is nice.
No, but Corey, and it's interesting that me or Chris didn't think about this, but you just said a name that also deserves an honorable mention, and that is Mr. Robert Burns.
Yep. Big heart, man. Kid's got a big heart and doesn't know anything but 100% forward.
And so that is our number 6 guy that made this list.
The mighty
And,
Daniel Quinn.
and let's be honest, guys. Fans in the chat. This is a working list. We'll say if you guys have any input or really want to get involved in the conversation, hit us up in the comments.
Chime in.
Let us know. And even if it's not on a live, watch, we'll get to those comments. We'll address them in the next podcast. So let's hear what you guys think, especially not just Will Franklin, because it's kind of sad that he looks like our only fan at the moment. So let's go. Let's go, guys. Hit those comments. Number
Well,
6. So that brings us to
And he's
number
not
5.
And he's not the only one watching, okay?
No,
No.
I know. There's
We
more.
know.
I see you guys out there with your
Just being
view,
quiet.
but with no thumbs up, no comment, not even supporting the league that you are watching a show for. Come on now. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy. was that your Metal Gear Solid?
No, that was Ken
Colonel.
Kniff from Connecticut. That was Ken Kniff from Connecticut.
Oh, I got it. I'll start doing the snake voice from Metal Gear Solid if you guys really are getting bored. But number 5, and I think Dub should take this one because this is for we've used lack of a better term too much in this podcast already. But I'm gonna beat the dead horse. For lack of a better term, this next guy is Dub's guy, and I don't mean that in a weird way. So no pause, whatever. But
No, because I mean, I've been speaking this man's praises all season long since we were introduced to him, back in week 1. But
so tell us, Dub, who is
But co-
number 5?
but coming in at number 5 is I guess you can call him one of the baby insomniacs, if you will. But of course, we're talking about one Moses Smith, who just made a tremendous impact on the defensive line. I guess you can, in a sense, say he kind of took away AJ's thunder, if you will, because AJ was practically in his own island from time to time because of the impact that Moses Smith made and the fact that the kid was only, 20 years old,
Yeah.
and he's put together like that. Just goes to show you that the future for the Insomniacs defense is in very good hands. And speaking
Speaking of which, here he is.
there he is. Mr. Smith.
And very well deserved, Moses, for you to be on this list, man. Let me tell you, very well deserved.
What was that? Is that a Hove sign?
It's a heart sign, man. Come on, man.
Is my guy throwing up the Hove?
He's throwing up the hearts.
H to the Izzo, V to the Izze over here. What are these? What are these emojis? Listen. We need to have a separate show of one of these young kids teaching me what all these emojis mean, because and what the brain rot words are.
Dude, you don't see the heart right there? It's a heart.
I'm doing it on my phone. I guess there is a heart situation.
I'm 20 years older than you, and I can see the heart.
I'm looking on my phone. It's a small screen.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I just made an H to the Izzo reference on our podcast, so you're welcome. By the way,
you just hit unk status with that comment.
I'm closer to being a grandfather than unk, bro.
He was doing this, Corey. That's what he was doing.
I know.
Yeah.
Guys, this was a full bit. It was a 100% full bit. I saw the stupid hearts.
He said it's a shoot, not a work.
I don't get it.
I was doing a wrestling term though that Matt Ryan would love, but anyhow.
Oh, gotcha. Yes. See,
but,
I try to act like I know where he's going sometimes with those wrestling references, but I honestly I've never watched a day of wrestling in my life.
No, but
shout out to the
Moses
Rock
Smith,
let's get back to the man of the
hold on.
number 5.
What were you saying, Dub?
No, I was just saying, Moses Smith just adding to the tremendous defensive front that is Chris McWilliams and Chris Cunningham, and of course Chris's forever man crush AJ McQuaig,
and RTC. Well, here's the thing about AJ McQuaig wasn't on our list last year, I don't believe, and he's not on the list this year. But let me just kind of clarify something. The other guy who plays, they usually have a 3-man front, right? So most of the time that I saw in games that mattered, it's Chris Cunningham. He kind of plays that defensive tackle position, for lack of a better term. It's a little bit different, but that's what he's playing. And then a lot of times they'll have AJ and another guy, right? So whether it's Mouth, whether it's RTC or whatever. But the thing is that even though AJ's not on this list, his presence is felt because defenses in the A7FL know his ability. And AJ does come into every game, every snap with the reputation that people can't leave him alone. No. So what that does, it gives the other guys a lot more one-on-one opportunities. And I think that is a big part of why we're seeing Moses Smith on the list. We may see other Insomniacs on the list, but a guy that obviously has the talent, has the skill, has the speed, has the strength. AJ McQuaig, not on the list. This is, I think, the second consecutive year. But I think the reason that is because with such a deep defensive line, when your attention as a blocking scheme for an offense is on AJ McQuaig, he just can't get to the quarterback fast enough because of how deep and talented this roster is. So shout outs to AJ, but also with the guy that we're talking about and featuring, who was, throwing the hearts up, Moses Smith. We're talking about the kind of the stereotypical, answer to the A7FL at defensive end. He's not necessarily your prototype for 11-on-11 tackle at that position, but as an edge rusher that can get a low center of gravity, turns the corner quicker than any offensive lineman I've seen in the league, and has both the acceleration and strength to chase down a ball carrier and get any size ball carrier down on a one-on-one tackle. It's exactly what you're looking for at that position. And for a 20-year-old rookie to make the impact that he did and the impression that he did on the guys that I know from the BIC offensive line, it just goes to show you if he avoids the Verardi and he builds on this season and has a breakout sophomore year, we could talk about a long history career with a young man like Moses Smith, our number 5 defensive lineman.
I'll take a step further on what you're saying with the situation. So when you start talking about defensive linemen, like what you were saying about AJ, one of the things that I see with him, like you were saying, is he does pull extra blockers to his side, and it does free up. And I agree with you, Moses. No sophomore slump over here, but he does pull, other coverage, other blockers towards him. But, you've got to kind of look at AJ the way you look at some defensive ends in the NFL. They're so good, you got to double and triple team them, because if not, they're going to ruin your day. And I think that is, something to be said about what AJ is. And even though he hasn't put up the stats in the last 2 years for sacks and tackles for loss or any of that stuff, he has really made other teammates shine because of him taking on those double teams and, freeing those guys up for single, being able to beat one person in front of them rather than having to deal with those doubles. So, Moses, my hat's off to you, man. Great young man. If you ever get a chance to talk to this young man, he's a great dude, and I think that it is very well. He's to be up on this list is 100% the right move.
Indeed.
So that's our number 5. Any more on Moses before we get going?
No, I think you should take the next one there, Corey.
Watch out for 2026.
That's all I can say.
Number 4. So I guess I haven't featured anybody yet because we've had actually to round out the bottom of our list 3 guys that you spend your time on Sundays calling their games. So, technically we snuck 4 in, but fuck it, we're making the rules. So our number 4 guy is actually the league leader in sacks once again, and I think that the next time he sees me, potentially on the road, he might actually pull me over and ask me why he wasn't higher. But for our number 4 defensive lineman of the 2025 season, world champion Isaac Negron, Isaac, a 2-time defensive MVP of this. Well, defensive player of the year actually is the correct phrasing. He's had a renaissance late in his career. And this is a guy that in 2013, 2012 was actually a running back in the league. And, there's some film of him. You guys have seen Isaac. You've seen the grown ass man he's grown into. But when he first came into this league, he was like a smaller, quicker guy. And his evolution from running back to, team executive. He had a team called the Punishers in the early 2010s. To now, kind of in his kind of swan song, went to the U, went to BIC, won a championship. Is the league leader in sacks for I think 3 of the last 4 seasons, guys. He doesn't pop off the screen, and I will say this: he doesn't pop off the screen like some of the other guys on either BIC or the Insomniacs. But his level of consistency that he brings, for him to just put out the straight raw numbers that he's the sack leader, at least in the Northeast, where we can kind of trust the statistics a little bit better. But for him to be that consistently productive at this advanced of an age, when he plays more of the interior type of D lineman, we had a lot of guys that are on the smaller frame types on this list already. He's a bigger frame guy at this point in his career. And for him to get the penetration that he does on a game in, game out basis, and I think the reason that he has so many sacks is that when he gets the opportunity, guys, he's not missing that shot at a quarterback. A lot of guys get more pressure. A lot of guys will be around a quarterback more often. When he has that opportunity, it turns into a statistical recorded sack for his team. And for the longevity that he's had and the sheer output that he's put on, there's no reason to say that he doesn't deserve to be here. And I think the argument could be made that he should be higher on this list. But at least in my opinion, Isaac Negron, defensive tackle, defensive end for BIC, is our number 4 defensive lineman of the 2025 season.
Well, Corey, I think that you are correct. I think that the argument could be made he could be higher on the list because of him being the sack leader. But at the same time, I think that when we start to look at the gentlemen that are in front of him, we talk about impact, and sacks aren't just they are impactful, but they're
one part of the whole.
It's one piece of many that go into being a defensive lineman. And no, we're not saying anything bad about. And I like the ISAC piece that you put out for his name. It's not just that. And the thing about it is he's a hell of a player. I mean, I've watched him play, and I think that his game, he shows you, why he is the sack leader. Because, like you said, a lot of guys could get there. They could line up the quarterback and they could get pressure, but he seems to, when he gets there, 9 times out of 10, he's getting that sack. So it's a very interesting piece with him, because it's not just about his pressures, right? It's about what he brings to the table.
You know how I would describe it? He's an ambush predator, right? He's a lion weight predator. When he gets the penetration,
he's a bass?
well, he's like a lion kind of in the weeds. If you're playing BIC, you're worried about maybe other guys. There's Olay over there, right? Trey Robinson was playing defensive end, and maybe you're worried about other guys. But nope, it's the sneaky, savvy, ambush predator, Isaac Negron, jumping from the tall grass, and before you know it, you're down, the play's over, and your team just lost 8 to 12 yards. That's Isaac Negron.
It's true. No lies there.
Oh, yes.
Maybe it's a goofy visual, but I'm just seeing him. He's just pouncing on people. Maybe it's a personal thing, because it happens to me so often. He does know to pad his stats when he plays against me. That's for sure.
Hey, you know what? It is what it is, man. He's a competitor, and a lot of these guys, when it comes, especially, it's weird too, because when you talk to the guys on the defensive and offensive lines, their competitive nature comes out just a little bit more because they're in the trenches. So it's interesting to have the conversations with them, especially like right after a game or right before a game.
Or the conversations that Isaac has with Cole Gardella. Shout outs to Cole every week about, you see, I'm leading the league in stats. Come on, you can't shortchange me. I got 1.5 last week, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they're so well kept. Anyway, that's my number. Does anybody else have anything else on Mr. Negron?
I
have nothing else.
Number 4, which brings us to our
number 3.
Yeah, and number 3 on our defensive line is another insomniac in Chris Cunningham. And I don't even know where to begin with him, because watching him play A7 and watching him play, Dub and I had the honor to call the game between the fire department and the Metropolitan Police Department here in town. And man, Cunningham was in the backfield like he is in A7. This guy has a motor that does not quit.
Is he a cop or a firefighter?
He is a cop.
Cop.
Oh, that's cool. So that's 2 cops back to back. We got Isaac Negron and now Chris Cunningham, back to back cops.
Yeah. And the thing about Chris Cunningham, man, he is, again, great guy, give you the shirt off his back, but he is a team player through and through. And we've seen now in 2 of the championship games where he has brought his A game. And, you really need to be ready for this man. He is, again, one of those guys that I thought was so much bigger. And then when I'm standing there talking to him, size differential between he and I is not a huge gap, but the way he plays with a shit ton of leverage, and he plays with a motor that just will not quit. I mean, this guy, once it switches on, you don't see him turn it off all game long. He doesn't take plays off. He helps draw double teams as well. He is going after the quarterback, and the thing about it is he is another one that I rarely see. Once he's got the quarterback lined up, I rarely see him miss.
Yeah, and I was not aware of Chris Cunningham's game, and even up to last year's not this most recent years, but either last year or 2 years ago, depending on how you phrase it, the 2024 championship in
Oh
Asbury Park.
man,
I'm just gonna be honest. I was not aware of this young man's game, and like many a person who assumes and makes an ass out of you and me, I assumed by what I had saw on film against and no disrespect, but when I saw Chris Cunningham on film, it was against other Vegas teams. So not even and it was hard to see him with the angle that the first Sickwicket game was. So a lot of the film that I saw of Chris Cunningham before that game was against teams like, Pit Bosses Gold, whatever. I was not confident going into the 2024 game that he was athletic enough at his size to stay with Sterry Codrington as a pass rusher in 2024, and I was wrong as fuck. And what we saw in the 2024 game is that he looked like the star of the defensive line, in my opinion, and this year's championship was no different. Now I saw him dominate a little bit more consistently through the regular season, but I did see in the championship game that of all of the defensive players for the Insomniacs, it seemed like Cunningham was the most disruptive to what BIC was trying to do offensively, and to kind of submit the claim. Chris's main job is to penetrate and stop anything in the middle of the field in that defense. From what I saw, right? If I'm incorrect, somebody can correct me. No big deal. So every time BIC tried to run the ball with their running back on a designed run that was kind of like your more standard running type of play, it was Chris Cunningham that either made the initial penetration to change the direction of the running back to from going vertical to laterally, which meant no yards, or he made the play himself. And if you look at the rushing yards from BIC in the championship game, they're almost all of them are from that run from Sterry, which was one attempt. And Chris Cunningham to me has solidified himself as one of the better options at that interior lineman, and easily makes our list as the number 3. Dub, my bad. I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
no, I was just gonna say. I mean, I guess the one word you can say about Chris Cunningham is just relentless. And again, I too go back to that
Good word.
2024 game, to where he just was just constantly in the backfield, really giving Sterry no time to really do what Sterry does oh so well, which is look down the field, keep the play alive, extend the play either with his leg or his arm to try to find his open man. But I mean, Cunningham was just there over and over and over again. And even this past championship game, I mean, he didn't get a lot of sacks, but just he had a lot of pressures in that game that had to make Sterry get rid of the ball even more quicker than Sterry would have liked to, even though BIC came out on the victorious end this past June. But I mean, Chris Cunningham is just a relentless motor that just gives you everything he has. He definitely is the epitome of emptying out the tank and leaving it all out there on the field.
100%.
So that's our number 3. Which brings us to our number 2. And maybe I'll go back to back because
Oh no, I did Cunningham. You could do the next one.
oh yeah, that's right. I didn't do Cunningham. That's right.
No.
I did Isaac. That was a
Correct.
watch ago. Look, my brain's scattering, guys. I'm so excited. But anyway, the point is, I think a lot of people are unfamiliar with this young man until they have to either play against him or they find themselves watching a game that he's involved, and how often it's this young man around the ball. And now it's funny. I talked to him and his girlfriend slash wife. I'm not sure what the actual relation is. My bad if I just engaged you guys, my boy, and you're not ready yet. My bad. But when I talked to him and his girl before the game, and I have this running gag when I talk about this player is I always say the wrong first name, and it did start out as an honest mistake, but now I just kind of I lean into it as part of the gag. Um, but you could call him Devin, Trevin, 11. It don't matter. Kevin White is going to be there at the end of the play for BIC, and he's had an interesting career. He came in as a rookie when the A7FL did their combine for the first ever really televised combine in Roselle Park, and I'll be honest, that combine was a failure. But there were two players that stood out at that combine from the 40 times to their ability. And one of them was a young Kevin White. And he was able to play tight end, running back, wide receiver, defensive end. And he was a little bit of a smaller frame. But fast forward about 6 years, he's gone from team to team. He's been a contributor on a bunch of different teams, but I don't think he really had a focus on a specific position just because of how versatile he is. And let me tell you something, guys. When he was in games for BIC this year, there was nobody better, in my opinion, at defensive line. And it's just how deep that line was that he wasn't himself the sack leader or an interception leader or a fumble recovery leader. But when you watch games of the week that BIC is involved in, it seemed like every defensive play Kevin White is either making the tackle, getting a half tackle, or he's standing above the tackle and would have been the guy if the tackle wasn't already made. And we talked about the stats and impact, and I do think that stats are big, but just like Cunningham, I think Kevin White's impact is almost impossible to put into words as much as that is literally our job right now, because he is in the same mold as Chris Cunningham, where it just doesn't matter if he makes the play or not at the end. He's involved in being a defensive stopper one way or another. Even on like quick screens to the other side of the field, it'll be Kevin White that runs down 40 yards to make the play and keeps it from becoming a touchdown. Now, that didn't happen on the rocket screens in the championship, but I digress. But anyway, so that's my read on our number two. And I'll put it out there. I'm the one who put him there because I was just extremely impressed at how impactful every single time I saw him on the field he was. And in my opinion, one of the big reasons why BIC went undefeated and won the A7FL championship in 2025.
Well, I can't say anything about that because I would agree with you.
Oh, yes.
Had to take a call, run the list back down for me.
Well,
we'll be turning around at the end, and we're at number one, so we'll turn around and rename them.
In perfect segue form, and guys, we have 18 minutes to filibuster on our number one, and we'll ask Will what he thinks because he might have had a little of what we call foreshadowing in the biz. But anyway, just to run it down real quick, our number seven, multiple Ramses, number six, the mighty Quinn, number five, the young man named Moses, number four, Isaac, number three, Chris Cunningham, because I feel like it's better to just say his full government, number two, Devin, Trevin, 11, it don't matter. Kevin White's
7.
getting in on the sack. And then that brings us, Will, to our number one defensive lineman in the A7FL 2025 season. And guys, talk about impact. Who wants to take number one?
Should we all say it at the same time?
All right, we say number one on one. Ready? Brick.
Number one.
Ready, set, go.
Number one.
Trey Baskerville.
Trey Baskerville.
Well, I guess
All right, we got to practice more.
we got to work on that.
We broke the huddle weird. We didn't line up in the correct formation.
Well, I don't know about y'all, but I was sitting in my ex receiver position.
All right, so we said the guy. Will said the guy.
He did.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Listen, say what you want about Will Franklin,
Will is foreshadowing.
but he watches a lot of A7. He sees a lot of these games. he travels the country.
In reality, I mean, with his position, I mean, I would say he has to, but I think Will does a really good job of paying attention to the games. and how things are called and how the games are called. So I will give him that, and I know he knows the players.
Well,
So it
and we
doesn't
watch
surprise me he called this.
and we watch these guys from the booth just as often, maybe a tiny bit more than Will. But guys, he's in the game with these guys. He sees everything. He hears everything. He's throwing flags and yelling in people's faces when it's appropriate. And I can say from personal experience, one of the things Will tries to officiate very evenly and fairly is rushing the pass or roughing, excuse me, roughing the passer calls. Because if you're getting late hits on the quarterback, it is a penalty. But you can't take a physical defensive lineman's ability to get to the quarterback out of the game if it's a bang bang play. So I
Gotta
guess you
let
guys
some
could
stuff
imagine.
go.
Well, I
This
guess you
isn't the
guys could.
NFL. We're not going to sit there and baby the
Well, listen, yeah, no,
quarterbacks.
I mean, this is football's supposed to be a physical game. I like it,
Yeah.
but anyway, the point is you can imagine with the offensive lines that I've had in recent memory, or how unmemorable maybe they were. Um, when I play against Trey Baskerville, there's a lot of times Will Franklin is telling me if the hit was late or on time, and he sees Trey Baskerville being one of those guys in all the time, making an impact on all of the quarterbacks, not just myself, in this league. And I think the easiest way to crystallize his impact is to just say the basic fact that look who the Animals defense was last year without Trey Baskerville. They averaged approximately 40 points against. They lost 2 playoff games in which they allowed over 70 points each time. And now enter Trey Baskerville. The only time the score got a little out of hand was against the Insomniacs in 100,000 degree weather, right? And if we go by just the first half of that game's just as close, if not closer, than all of the other Animals games combined. And listen, they still got 60 burgered. Don't get me wrong. It's all on tape. But early on in that Insomniacs game, a game that the Animals would end up losing, I think that everyone could even see what we're saying now about Trey Baskerville, about how impactful he is, how much of a menace he can be to an opposing offense, and why Will Franklin, a head referee in this league, called it prematurely that our number one player at this position was going to be Trey Baskerville, defensive end from the Silk City Animals.
Well, he knows his players, and that's the big thing. You know, when he's out there, like you said, he's on the field with them, so he sees more of it than we do. And the reason why I say that is because it's one thing calling it from a booth, a whole nother thing when you're right there in the action. So, Will, congratulations on making the call, man. You are 1,000% correct on the number one.
I'm about to
IBM,
throw a flag on him.
you
I'm about
make
to
the
throw a
call.
flag on him. He's trying to ruin the whole list. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Well, it's one of those situations when you do what he does, it makes it that much easier. Uh, kind of looking and seeing what's going on. So I gotta give it to my boy. He was on the right there where he should have been with that one and made the call.
Yeah, man. Listen, Trey Baskerville's importance was summed up when we were talking about defensive player of the year and all those things. I think, him appearing on this list is both A, obvious, and B, well deserved. And I think that if you look at what the Animals are building, it's not a hot take to say keeping Trey Baskerville is probably more important to the Animals than if they were able to keep a Manny Diaz. So, like you said earlier, Chris, if this was a contract league and you had to pick one or the other, that wasn't how this went down. This isn't how this league is structured. But if it was, I think that a case could be made that as great as Manny Diaz played all year, the Animals aren't anywhere near the championship game if it isn't for having a defensive absolute monster that they could put on one side of the field and affect all run plays to that side, pass plays to that side. And we talked about that when we were talking about defensive MVP, how as he's rushing the passer, because he's so active with his arms and hands and he's so tall, that he almost is covering the zone, the flat zone on that side of the field. You can't throw short passes because you got to get it over his extended arms. And we talk about Will being front and center. Not all the guys on this list, but the number one guy. Yeah, I can tell you from experience, it's no fun to play against Trey basketball.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure with him coming straight at you with his arms up in the air, it makes it very tough for a quarterback to throw over him. I mean, the man's not a short dude.
Yeah, and with those annoying fucking cheetah print cleats and his obnoxious laugh because he's having such a good time out there. Yeah, it's all a package that makes this list, but also makes quarterbacks in the A7FL throw fits.
I can understand that. I mean, he's there's a reason why he is who he is, and I think that when you stop and look at what his capabilities are, him being number one makes sense. I would never pretend to take that away from him for anything, but I mean, watching him play again, watching some of these guys play in person it's just different. That's the only thing I can say. It's just different. You have to see some of these guys in person to understand what they're capable of doing.
Well, and I'll say this for guys on the East Coast. Not everyone on the East Coast, because a lot of guys do know football and they could easily see. But I'll say the vast majority of our division and the Maryland guys, right? They thought similarly, right, Chris, about the Vegas division. They were like, blah, blah, blah. But then they saw him in person, and then they all were like, oh, shit.
Shit. They're a lot bigger than you think.
Faster than you think.
Yeah.
Hit harder than you think, and more accurate when they throw the ball. Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, it's one of those things. It's always, when you see somebody on TV, or you see somebody, where you're not there personally to kind of get an understanding of the size differential for these guys. It's different when you do see them. And, when I think about it, and I think about the different teams that I've seen play, right down to some of the guys from, I would say probably the ones that kind of surprised me a little bit was when playing against some of the guys from Chaos. There's a couple of the guys that I thought were bigger than they were, and then there's a couple of guys that I saw that were, I thought, smaller. And when you see them in person, it really is an eye opener, and it's a lot different too when you see them moving out there on the field.
Yeah, man. And look at Will's comment. He's talking about Trey Baskerville. He does get interceptions. I know that as well. Unfortunately, not this year. But
oh yes.
So, Dub, let's recap this inaugural top 7 list that the other side of the ball is going to do. We can kind of put a retrospective out there as we look at the list in total, and then we can preview maybe what we're going to talk about on next time on Other Side of the Ball.
Well, just to go through the list one more time, we talked about the top 7 defensive linemen of 2025. From the Silver State Stealth, we have the Ramsey brothers, Robert and Keith Ramsey. And number 6, the mighty Daniel Quinn of Sick With It. Number 7 was the baby insomniac himself, Moses Smith. Number 5, or number 7, no, number 6.
4.
No, 4. What's wrong with me?
Somewhere in there.
No, number 4.
That's my bad. I'm the one who does the voiceover guys, the numbers guy. So I'll press the button. Number 4
would be Isaac Negron. Number 3 would be the almighty Chris Cunningham. Kevin White, number 2, and at number 1, I think this is the second year in a row, if I'm not mistaken, he might be at number 1, of course.
No, last year we didn't include him on this list because he was on Snow Tribe, and I think we had him at 7. But let's be clear that Snow Tribe team, their problem wasn't their defense.
It was their
Their defense
offense.
was still pretty good with Trey Baskerville.
But Trey Baskerville comes in at number 1, and those are your top 7 defensive linemen for 2025. Well, I say this: if we started in the trenches, we might as well stay in the trenches and go offensive linemen next week. Top 7 offensive linemen for episode 149.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go, Dub. You read my mind. But also for those watching the show, whether you're watching it live right now and you want to fill out the comments section after we're done, or if you're watching this on a playback, whether it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you have your own nomination that you think we either missed or glossed over, we want to hear from the fans, the league,
Yes.
the players even.
Yes.
So hit us up in the comments if you have a guy that we may have missed, or if you have a reshuffling of the order based on whatever. Hey Isaac, if you pull me over, I'll put in a good word for you to slide up maybe to 3 or 2.
Really?
You gotta be careful, man. You gotta be careful out there. You gotta be safe. You gotta be safe out there. You guys should be making overtures to Cunningham. Apparently, he could pull you over and be like, "Why am I not number 1?" But the point is I think that we can make this a working
we'd throw
list.
it all on your shoulders there, Corey.
Yeah, it's usually safe. I mean, listen,
you live outside the state; it's not going to hurt you.
All this experience of being the quarterback and taking all the blame, I'm used to it, man. Just blame me. If this is a South Park movie, just call me Canada. Anyway, shout out to South Park and the good work they're doing recently. I'm impressed. But again, in the comments, let us know. I can be convinced that there's names that we did not mention on this list that are deserving. If we did include a guy on this list, or even a group of brothers and considered them one spot, I think they're deserving. But there was a lot of great defensive line play, and I'd love to hear from the fans to see what their thoughts are on either just our list or if they have other guys we should consider. But to preview next week, going offensive line, guys,
Mm-hmm.
There's a pretty good there's a decent amount of guys that we're going to be considering. I think we are pretty confident in some of the top names, but I'll be honest, Dave Valley, who is one of my favorite offensive linemen, just not enough appearances this year to make it on the list. So that means at least one of the top guys from our list from last year is not going to be appearing. So that's going to be at least one new name, but we'll see if any more make the list and are deserving next week on the other side of the ball.
Oh, yes.
Should be interesting. Should be interesting.
Final manly thoughts, gentlemen.
Go ahead, see.
Well, just in retrospect, I think the point I want to make as we're finishing up this list of defensive linemen that were impactful and the top guys in our opinion, I think there's an archetype forming. And in the A7FL, if a defensive lineman can be both, courageous and physical and have the will, like Chris was talking about, which is a necessity, right? It's a tough place to play in the A7FL trenches. But if you could have that will, that overall strength, that competitive drive, and you have the skill set to be like an Ole Bell or a Moses Smith, that athletic, smaller framed, quicker guy. Look, Trey Baskervilles don't grow on trees. 6'5" athletes.
No pun intended.
Pun intended, pun not intended. Listen, there's not a lot of Trey Baskervilles out there.
No.
But if teams are looking for impact defensive linemen that can affect the game, don't look at the size of the dog in the fight. Look at the size of the fight in the dog. And if you can get a guy that does have the speed and athleticism, but also take it easy, Will. I don't know if that applies to me, but I'll take it as if you were speaking to me specifically too.
Could apply to anybody.
He was only half talking to you guys, I guess.
Just the darker side.
Yes.
So
Have a good one, Will.
my parting shot would be team like the Gold or the Heathens building. Find that speed rusher with that athleticism, because if you can disrupt the backfield, you can make an offense's day miserable, and that'll help you win games for sure.
Yep. So I will. How can I preface? It's always good when football's back. Yeah, I'm looking at the NFL compared to A7 right now, but the thing about it is we only get a couple of months in between, which thankfully is a short period, so that's good. But the overall for me is, or final comments for me is simple, and that is that it's always nice to talk about this off season. The better part is when we hit right around the end of February and we're starting to talk about what's coming up for A7. And for next year, there'll be no difference because, we've heard a lot of rumors, a lot of possibilities, a lot of everything. Well, we'll see what happens. First game next season. And I'm looking forward to that. However, I'm also looking forward to the rest of our top 49 players and who we're choosing. So all I can say is get your popcorn ready and have some fun with us.
On that note, we hope you enjoyed the top 7 defensive linemen of 2025. We'll stay in the trenches and talk offensive linemen for 2025. But for Mr. Corey Hammond, for one Chris Vera, I'm Double A saying thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And once again, happy birthday, Derek Duncan. Hopefully it was a fantastic birthday for you, good sir. And
Should we sing?
No.
Nah, this is.
I'll just say happy birthday, bro. Hope you had a good one.
But for all of us here on the Other Side of the Ball Network, you have been watching The Other Side of the Ball, episode number 148. We'll see you next week for number 149, and we'll see you on The Other Side of the Ball. Ta-ta for now.